All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started, you guys. Our first half, I'm really just gonna go over some of the concepts that we learned in our last live. Just for those who weren't a part of that last live, can have the what we talked about, and I'll be able to shoot you guys a link to the full video of our session last week. So for those who do not know, my name is Latanya Lawson-Jones. I am the project director for the Nominee Hall Slave Legacy Project, as well as Deeply Rooted Genealogy. I am working to find the present-day descendants of the 511 enslaved people who were freed by Robert Carter III in 1791. And I also am doing what's called reparational genealogy, trying to provide the descendants of chattel slavery the opportunity to have their genealogy done for free, instead of having to pay Ancestry $3,200. So we're working on people who volunteer to have their trees done on our live. And today we're going to be doing the tree of Eliana Yisrael. And I'm hoping she can get connected soon, but we're going to go ahead and get started nonetheless. So why do we do genealogy research? Anybody remember from last week? No? Okay. A lot of times we are doing it to satisfy our curiosity about where our family is from. A lot of people find that it can be helpful to understand who they are by knowing more about their ancestors. So that's one reason. The other is to provide our children with a sense of who their ancestors were, where they came from, and how they lived their lives. Genealogy is more than just names and dates. It's really telling the stories of people who lived before us and how those stories might impact us in the present day. To preserve family, cultural, and ethnic traditions for future generations. You know, those recipes that get slid in the side of the book that nobody knows about, but it's grandma's favorite thing to make. And, you know, when she passes away, somebody finds it in the sleeve of a cookbook, right? You know, we're going to preserve those family cultural traditions and things that we liked about our childhood. Because I remember my grandmother used to make neck bone soup, and that was like the best thing ever. And I had no idea that it was a meal for when you're struggling, because it was so good. All right, let's see. To compile, some people do it to compile medical family history. It can be helpful for people who may be struggling with inherited diseases, and they may need to know more about their family members' previous medical issues, because it can be important as we start to build families and things like that. Some people do it to qualify for a lineage or a heritage society. Like right now, I'm currently in the process of doing my application for the Daughters of American Revolution. And so they want all my business. They want all my business. They want to know how I'm connected, and they want to have documents that qualify that information. So like I'm having to provide birth certificates and death certificates for every ancestor that goes all the way back to my Revolutionary War patriot. And so some people do it for that reason. I'm doing it because I will be the first person that descends from that patriot, my fifth great grandfather, James McCoy. So there's nobody else that's already a member that is connected to him as a patriot. So I will be the first one. Other people do it to assemble and publish family history books. And some people even do like DVDs of like interviews of the family elders and stuff like that. So some people write books for profit, some people write them just for their family members. So it just depends on your certain proclivity, what it is that you want to do. What are some of the reasons that you guys have decided to do genealogy? Anybody?
I'll start. I'm usually
Okay.
first. I do it because my ancestors Well, I guess I'll go back. I've been doing this about 30 years and starting with the I do the family history, the family reunions and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked it up from my mom. So that's why I basically
Gotcha.
do it because my mom was about 90 something and I picked up everything she had and I promised her I would keep it going. So that's one of my main reasons. Most of the things on here, but it's for
Gotcha.
my ancestors and my mom.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Kim, Kimberly?
Hi.
Hi.
Well, the short answer is because both of my parents come from a very small town in rural Mississippi.
Oh, wow.
So
What
they
part?
all Liberty, Mississippi.
Okay.
They grew up 11 miles away from each other. Didn't really know each other until they moved to New Orleans because that's what you do when you become an adult. You move to the big city. Um, And so I'm like, I know that there's got to be more and we all still, like my dad's side, all still live on the family land.
Oh, nice.
And on my mom's side, the land is still there. So I'm like, where did this come from? And how are we all still connected to what is here? So I got laid off a couple years ago and then I started was like, well, I'm at the library looking for jobs. And then I started doing this.
Nice. Anybody else want to share?
I'll go.
Okay.
So I started because I've been working on or thinking about working on and actually started working on a poetry book. My grandmother, um, she passed some years ago, but she wrote poetry all throughout her life, and I have them all. And so it started off because she also had some poetry from her great grandfather. So by looking at that, it made me more curious because it was
Right.
poem written in 1888, and that's how I started to really become more curious. So it's more about as I'm putting together this book of poetry, it would be nice to be able to really understand, where she's coming from because it influenced, the way she wrote and other things. So that's how I got started in this.
That's exciting. That's a treasure to have.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Thank you.
awesome. Anybody else? Well, I got started doing genealogy, um, I want to say probably 20 years ago now. But I started because my cousin did his law school project, and they had to find their family members based only on legal documents. And he did this assignment in law school, and ultimately we ended up finding out that one line of our family was connected to the deed of gift. And it was interesting because at first we were like, well, we had never heard of it. We had never heard about the deed of gift. We never knew anything about it. Our like I grew up, my great grandmother lived with us. And they never said anything. Even though I know that she knew, they never said anything. And so we started out just trying to find information about our immediate family. And then it turned into a whole project because when I found out we were connected to two families, I was like, oh, this is crazy. And I kept digging and kept digging and kept digging, and ultimately found that I'm connected to three families that were free by the deed of gift. And so I wanted to make the same things that I found for myself available to other people who are connected to the deed of gift. And I wanted to make it so that people could just search their ancestor's name on Ancestry and they would be able to find our tree with all of the documentation and all of that. So um, that's kind of how I got started in doing genealogy. I've done at this point, I probably, um, my one tree has probably maybe 8,000 people in it. of people who I found that are connected to the deed of gift. And so I decided that I wanted to do this to kind of branch out and really make genealogy more as a common thing, right? I wanted to, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know anything about my family. I'd love to be able to find out more about them. But then they don't show up to stuff like this when it's free. So I say that to say I appreciate you guys being here, and I appreciate you all taking the time out today to work with me and go through this. So let's see what else I got. First things first, getting organized. We got to get organized. We got to make sure that we determine the best method for you to keep track of the information that you find, whether it be on paper, whether it be digital. But basically, we have to figure out a way to get organized from the beginning, right? So basic tools that we'll need to do genealogy. A lot of people just do it blank on Ancestry. They just log in and they don't keep track of what they have. They don't keep track of the census records they found. They don't keep track of anything. And so because of that, they miss opportunities to really be able to have a solid record about their family members. So like for me, I started out with the family group worksheets. When I first started the project, I literally went through the deed of gift with a fine-tooth comb and created family group sheets for every person that was freed. And then that helped me to be able to find those people who were connected to each other. And so this community of people, their children married each other. They were not outside of the realm of, they stayed in their own communities. And so using family group worksheets and pedigree charts really allowed you to be able to see the totality of that person's information that you have collected. So I did make those available on my Patreon. You don't have to pay for it. You can just go there and click on it. So if you go to the website and, support me on Patreon, you'll be able to go and get copies of the pedigree chart, the family group worksheets. I do believe I included the census checklist too, but I will be constantly adding additional things, more resources for you guys on my Patreon. So that way, you can go to one single place and be able to find all of the information that I've made available. So we just talked about this. How do we record information? We record it on family group sheets. We record it on pedigree charts. And some people use software and some people use websites, ancestry.com, familysearch.org, both of those websites. Some people use MyHeritage and maybe even 23andMe to keep track of their record information. So where do we start? We start with ourselves. We always start with ourselves as the basis so that we can then grow our tree moving up, right? So we start with ourselves, then we keep track that our parents, grandparents, you even want to keep track of your siblings and the siblings of your parents and grandparents, because sometimes we might find a record that is for an aunt, but it tells us that next generation, right? So where we may not be looking exactly at our direct bloodline, we will be able to look at people who are related to us, but are not our direct ancestors. So we'll be able to find information on, you might be able to find birth records, you might be able to find death records, you might be able to find military, as well as like things that come from periodicals, newspapers, and that sort of thing. So when we look at like the way that a regular tree looks, it's just you, then the next generation, then the next generation, then the next generation moving up. Where we like to go lateral, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that when we start working on her tree. But we can go lateral, including aunts, uncles, cousins, that whole deal, and we're able to find more information about that next generation moving up by doing what's called shrubbing, making the tree, instead of it just being like a tree, like a triangle, it can be like a tree going sideways as well. So as much information that we can get on ourselves, our parents and grandparents will help us to be able to scrub that out and be able to see more clearly that information. Ask your relatives about your family history. What do they know? Once you've figured out what you know and documented what you know, then you can move out to the next step, which is asking your relatives about the information that you've collected and where you might have gaps. So if you have information about your uncle and he was in the military, but you don't know anything else about it, maybe his children know, maybe his children know more information about his records and where we can find that information. So asking your relatives is important. You may get some pushback. I'm not going to lie and tell you that you won't. You might get some pushback from family members because some people, like you digging up dirt, even when we don't be mad when you find something. And that is so common in our community. Is I don't want you to look up, you're going to look up the wrong thing and you're going to find out that somebody ain't somebody's daddy. Well, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. But we're going to keep track of what we do know, and we're going to continue to work and move forward, right? So key places to look for information that you might not think you need: letters, family Bibles, scrapbooks, diaries, photographs, church records, baptismal, christenings, newspaper clippings from when they won that modeling contest in 1984. Things that you may not even realize might be helpful. So one thing that I found, and it's crazy how you can find out information. When my grandmother passed away, she had this box of like old papers and stuff, and she had an electric bill from 1920. And it's crazy because the company that it was from is still in existence, and it's who I pay my electric bill to now. And I posted about it because on this electric bill, it included her mother's name, which was so odd. I knew that the bill wasn't in her name. And I didn't have a clue that it was her mother until I was then able to find another record with her name on it that made it clear that when they came to Baltimore from Virginia, they lived in the same house. And so finding a BG&E bill was like, I didn't expect that type of record to provide me with that next step into the next generation. So if you don't think you need it, you never know, you might need it. Anything that contains what we talked about last week, anything that contains a name, a date, or a location can be helpful in piecing together the stories of your family ancestry. So how to begin, we look for ourselves, our parents and grandparents. So anytime we can get past that 1850 barrier that a lot of people have difficulty with, we can find more information going backwards once we get to that first step. So think about, your grandparents, of course, they may have been born in the early like I know my grandmother was born in 1909. But her parents, that next generation back, you may have some that were born in the late 1800s. And so the more information that we have about our grandparents, the easier it becomes to make that step to the next generation up. So my key thing to take into consideration all times, record everything. Even if you don't think you need it, make copies, write it down, put it in a way that you can keep that information, because you don't know when that set of data is able to take you to the next layer or the next set of ancestors moving backwards. All right. Yeah, we talked about this. Mistakes to avoid: don't put off talking to your family members. They know a lot. You know, like I can go and talk to my mother about my great grandmother, and she'll tell me all these stories from when she was a little girl, how my grandmother used to iron her handkerchiefs and just all kinds of things. You never know what asking your relatives can give you. The key that I think is important is recording those conversations, whether they be audio or whether they be you writing notes. Record those conversations, because you never know where one little thing might be in that audio that you light bulb goes off when you're doing this work. All right. Don't neglect to write down your sources. Don't remember where you got things from. Make copies if possible. So like if you're on ancestry.com or on Family Search, you can save those census records. If you want to download them, just click on them and right click and go to save as, and it will save that census record for you. But if you don't want to do that because it's already stored in Ancestry, I understand. But for me, downloading those census records is important because I don't use Ancestry as my system of record. My system of record is on the legacy program that I told you guys about last week. So I have external software that I use as my system of record. So Ancestry is just the place I go to figure out, is this real or is it not? You know, and I use legacy as my system of record. So don't neglect to write down where you got stuff from. You never know when those things might be updated, or for instance, I went on a website that had burial records for a whole bunch of different people. And then they were able to make updates once they learned about who else was buried there, in terms of it being the slave graveyard. So I say that to say, make copies if you can, and if you can't, make sure you write down where you got the information from, whether it be the website or whether it be an actual physical place. We want to make sure that we are sourcing our information. Don't assume that everything you find on the internet is reliable. I'll give you an example. On Ancestry, you'll see the census records and you'll see information about people. And sometimes you might find that the name is misspelled, or they have a different last name than the name you know. And when you go to look at the actual copy of the census record, you see that it says the actual name of the person that you're talking about, but it was transcribed incorrectly because they couldn't recognize the handwriting, or maybe they thought a B was a D. I don't know. It just depends on the handwriting. And so sometimes you might find that those records on Ancestry, or even Family Search for that matter, may be transcribed incorrectly. So just don't take it to heart that just because you found a record that has a different spelling, that spelling is the correct spelling. So if you have birth documents, death documents that say the same thing, but then you find a census record that says something different, I would go with the birth and death documents first in terms of what is a more reliable resource. All right. Yeah, don't trust everything you see in print. Same deal. And I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I can't trust a newspaper, or I can't trust actual published documents, but I can go and create a document and put it on the internet. That doesn't mean that it's right. So I do know that some people have family histories that they have published on separate websites. And I just say to take everything in terms of, if it's not a primary source, which is birth, death, marriage, adoption, military. If it's not one of those types of records, I would take it with a grain of salt. Okay? Don't accept family legends without question. That's a good one. That's a good one. Don't limit yourself to the current spelling of your surname. Sometimes people change their names because they were on the run. Sometimes people change their names because it would have them be confused for someone else, mistaken identity and that sort of thing. So when, like, for instance, my McCoy ancestor that I talked about before, on one census, his last name is listed as McKee. And you see that his father's last name was McCoy, but his grandfather's last name was McKee, M-C-K-E-Y, instead of M-C-K-O-Y. Don't assume your family is related to someone famous. We talked about this last week. You know, Taylor Swift. Miley Cyrus is my seventh cousin. It's laughable, but it's true. But you can't always take family legends for the truth. Beware of taking other people's research as fact. I'll give you a prime example. I was on Ancestry the other day, and someone has saved my grandmother on their family tree. They're related, but they have saved my grandmother on their family tree, and then they put my cousin as one of her children. And I'm like, no, this is wrong. So I sent them a message saying, hey, can you change this so that we're not telling the wrong story here? And they were like, oh, I just assumed. Yeah, no, you can't assume with genealogy. You have to, just because someone may be connected to that family doesn't necessarily mean that they are that person's child. So I think that's it. That's all I got for our recap from last week. But what I want to do now is go on Ancestry. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Oh, Ancestry Pro Tools. Pay us $10 a month to do stuff for you that you can do for yourself. The only thing in this section that I would consider helpful is the charts and reports. Everything else, I would not pay $10 for. I would not pay $10 extra for. So let's look at, oh, and you guys can see my first tree that pops up is the Nominee Hall Slave Legacy tree. But today we are going to be doing the tree for Ileana. And so I don't know if she was able to join us or not, but we're going to create a brand new tree.
Here.
She's
You're
here.
I'm here.
Yay! How are you?
Wonderful. This has been very enlightening and very helpful. I'm taking all my notes.
Oh, nice. Awesome. So we're going to create a new tree. And of course, I can't see. There we go. Create new tree. So here we are. We're starting out with Liana. So let's see. Good. I need that to see. My camera hates me, guys. So I'm going to turn it off. All right. So starting with yourself, isn't that who we said we have to start with? We have to start with ourselves. So we're going to start with Eliana. All right. So I'm not going to fill out your birthday and birthplace. I'm going to let you do that, but I'm going to pick where you are on the tree. So the first step, we know she filled out this lovely form on the website and gave me her family information, both her father, her parents, and her grandparents, which I was like, yay. Because some people don't even know who their grandparents are. But that's a story for another day. All right. So her
Right.
mom, Michelle, where's your family from, Eliana?
So interestingly enough, the Boisseaux, we don't know, um, we don't know past my grandfather. They
Okay.
think he knows that his father, or he knew that his father was from Louisiana, but he wasn't sure from where. And
Got
then one of a Boyso cousin said that he had been doing some research and he found, but we don't have the research that he did, but he did tell us that at some point the Boysos came to the US from Haiti, but I don't know when that would have happened.
Gotcha.
But I do know that my grandfather was born in Chicago in the 30s, and then his father was born in Louisiana at some point in the 1900s, but I'm not sure about the father before that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I just saw the French name and I was wondering,
Yeah, the French name. And it's kind of a give. I think it kind of screams Louisiana, if not more
is
than
that where
that.
your mom is? Your mom is from Louisiana?
No, my mom's from Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah, she was born in Chicago.
Yeah, I don't want the cook part, but okay. So we're gonna save this.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So we have the very first person on our tree. Yay!
Cool. Cool.
So now I'm gonna add your dad.
Mm-hmm.
This is too big. And his name is, got you. Ronald Edward. I can't spell today.
Quite all right.
Lacey. Is he still alive?
He is still alive, yeah. And he's
Wonderful.
also from Chicago. Born in
Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Come on, ancestry. All right. So I don't understand what's happening here. Can you guys see? I don't see it.
What are
I'm
you
looking
looking?
for the button to save it, but I'm not seeing
Oh, I
it.
see the save button.
Where? At the bottom?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. The little this little Zoom is hiding my screen.
Oh, because you're sharing it.
Okay.
Yeah, it says save and then it says cancel.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I do not see it.
Oh, you're so nope.
That is crazy.
That is weird. Okay, hold on.
More.
Warm. Go to the go.
I
Oh,
don't
you
want this
go
to
down
stay
a little
up
bit.
because it
I'm hoping I
wasn't
can
staying up at
guide you
first.
to it. That's so weird that it cut you off.
Yeah, it cut off the whole bottom section.
Yeah.
So I can't even see the save button.
You're right. You got it. You're
Wait a minute. Go away.
when you're feeling lost and
I don't want this to show up. How do I get this to go away? Blame it. Let's see. Remote hide floating meeting controls. Yay! The little things, man. The little things. Okay, so I got you and your dad, your mom. and we're gonna do your next generation up. All right.
Mhm.
So, typically to shrub out this tree, you would put your. Oh, let me fix this because that's wrong. Um, Typically when you first start to shrub out, you would put your mother's siblings, your father's siblings, you would put all of them so that then you could be able to find more records about everyone in your family that can
Right.
possibly give you the breakthrough to get to the next level. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
All right. So your mom's mom is Martha.
Mm-hmm.
I can't type. Hello. Or will.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing to note, some people, when they are doing their ancestry, they will put their surnames in all caps. I don't particularly care one way or the other, but in some systems like Family Tree Maker, and even Family Search, always put the surnames in capital letters.
Mm.
But that's neither here nor there. So let's see. So your grandmother, Martha, was born July the 15th, 1939. And of course, and so you'll see Ancestry will prompt you and say, hey, you want to put it in this format, which is the genealogical standard.
Right.
So your grandmother, Martha, was from where?
She was born in Arkansas.
Okay.
Helena, Arkansas, I think.
Helena.
I'm
Oop,
pretty, yeah.
didn't mean to do that. There we go. Right, so I'm going to save her. And then your maternal grandfather, Mitchell. That's a strong name.
It is, yeah.
It's interesting. I was wondering about your name because it means to drink or
I actually met a Haitian man some years ago. He told me that.
the drinkers.
And unfortunately, the Boy Souls have lived up to the name. We have a lot of,
I wonder if that's how they got the name.
they took the name very seriously
That
here in
is so
Chicago.
funny. So
I don't
where
even
was
think they,
Mitchell from?
he was born in Chicago.
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I know we just did.
Yeah, we did Martha. I don't know what happened.
Where'd she go? Let's see. There she is. I know she was in the tree.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I see what happened. Okay. I'll go back. I'll go back. Um, that's so weird. I've never seen them do that before. Oh,
Yeah, where
I see why. Okay. Let me go back to the tree. It doesn't like me today. That is so strange. I have never seen it do that before.
where it's separated. That is
Yeah, it
interesting.
separated them completely. Okay, so let's see. Add spouse, choose from the tree. And we're gonna choose. No, this isn't the right one. Okay. There it is. Okay. Workaround.
Ah,
Now she should be on there. There we go.
yay. Oh,
That is so funny.
wow. But they made her. That's
Uh,
interesting.
She made it, that's so crazy. It made her like half. Let me go to her and see. Okay. Yeah, this is how it should look. The spouse and then the daughter. Ancestry's glitching today. All right.
Hmm.
Make sure that's that. Okay. So looking at your dad's family.
Yeah.
And your
I
dad,
don't know as much about them, unfortunately.
and
I
that's
just,
okay.
yeah, I didn't grow up. I grew up with the stepfather. I just met my
Gotcha.
biological father
So
recently.
his dad's name was Grace,
Oh, sorry. His mom's name is Grace. His
and
dad's
his
name is
dad is
Marion.
Marion.
Yeah. But I know that they're from one of the A states,
Are they
Arkansas.
still, is he still alive?
Marion Lacey is not, no.
Okay.
All my grandparents are deceased.
Got you. Okay, I'll go back and fix that in one sec.
Hmm.
And where was he from?
Hold on, because I did ask. I asked my dad. I know the answer to this. He was from Alabama.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
Considering that you guys that he's from Chicago, right?
My dad was born in Chicago, yeah.
Yeah. So there was a huge
Yeah.
migration from Alabama and Mississippi to
I was gonna say
Chicago.
most folks here, our migration, we were Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi, and a lot
Yeah.
of Louisiana. Those four, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, everybody's grandparents are from those places.
Gotcha. And Grace is from where?
Grace is from Arkansas. So yeah, Marion was Alabama, Grace is Arkansas.
Right. There we go. And Ancestry is doing this little indexing thing. You see, you got some
Yay.
little leaves to pop up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure I had everything come off of our list. I'll go here and fix these. Quick edit. Deceased. Quick edit. Deceased.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. So this is where we would, okay, this is what we know, right?
Right.
What's on paper. This is the stuff we know. And our next step is to figure out what we don't know, right? So you talk to your parents, you talk to your aunts and uncles, all your family. And oh, he has 8 records. This is awesome. So let's click on those records so we can take a look at what they found so far about your grandfather. Somebody else has already started working on the tree. As you can see, 3 other people have ancestry trees that include his information. You'll note that on the right-hand side, there's a section for parents that have.
Those are definitely his parents.
So the system is basically searching through records. It searches through existing family trees. And basically, it allows you to it basically gives you suggestions of who the parents might be based off other research that's already been done. But
Right.
the way we operate is we are looking for primary sources. Okay. So this is a good example. It does give us these as suggestions. The very first record that you look at is his Social Security application.
Right.
It's got his name, it's got his date of birth, and what new information here? We've got a death date, right?
Mm-hmm.
We now know who his father and mother are.
Mhm.
So I'm going to review this record and I am going to likely save this information because we have confirmed that that is the case, right? So I'm going to click
Yep.
this, takes us to the next step. He was born again, it's December the 27th. And so this is substantiation for the information that you gave me, right? You told me what
Right.
his date of birth was. Now we have a physical, actual record that corroborates what your family story says is true, right? So that's
Right.
our first step. Next, his father is here. His
Mhm.
mother is here. Although it doesn't give us their birth and death dates, it does give us their names. So we're going to save those to our tree. Then we're
Mhm.
going to move on to our very next record, which is also a Social Security death record. This is probably the index version. Yep, index version. I didn't even see that. All right, so this is
Mhm.
another substantiation of the information we already have. And so when we
Copy.
save these records, you'll see them listed under facts on your family tree. It's going to show you the
Mhm.
sources where we got these facts. So if we're looking for substantiation for his name or for his date of birth, it will show you which records that information was made possible by. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
Perfect. So we're going to click on hints again. It's going to take us to other information. He was a veteran, I see.
Yep, Korean War.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thankfully, he was in the band, so he didn't see any.
Good for
Um,
him.
yeah, he was able to join
Yeah.
the army as a drummer.
Okay, so this is a good example of what I was talking about of not necessarily trusting everything that you see on a record. Because we already have two government records that prove his date of death as the 22nd of January.
Right.
And this record is saying that it was on the
The
21st of
21st.
January.
Right.
So when you don't know which information is correct, you can
Mhm.
still save this information along with his record, but you can save it as an alternate. So that
Sure.
way you can go back and make edits and figure out, is this true? Is it not true? We're looking for another record to substantiate which date is the correct one. But we want to save the record so that we know where we got it from, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So let's click on hints again. Hey, there they are on the 1940 census. And we learned something new from this census record. We have his name, when he was born, where he lived, who his mother is, and there he has a sister that we
Yep.
didn't have.
Yep. We got Aunt Alice.
And he was 7 years old. And so the record shows us a lot of information. So on each census record, it collects data about where you lived, who you are, who's related to you, your job, your career, whether you have gone to high school, whether you can read and write. Well, at this time they didn't do read and write, but the ones that are further back, they'll ask whether or not you can read and write. But hey, here are some more siblings that were not listed over here on the left-hand side. And so we got Alice, Maurice, Audrey, Carolyn, and Marcia.
Yeah, it was a lot of them.
My goodness. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, it
And
was a
then
lot of them.
7. They were busy. All
And my
right.
Evelyn, yeah, she started early.
All right. So we're going to
You
save
see,
that.
21 with a 7-year-old is some funny math.
Believe it or not, it's not really funny math.
No, she got married when she was 13.
And that's what I was just going to say. During the 1920s to the 1950s, getting married very young was very common. Like I have an uncle, aunt, they got married when they were like 13 years old.
Yeah, it was her husband was much older. I never met him, but I know he was older. She told me about it.
Got
I
it.
met her, but I never met him. He passed before I was born.
Gotcha.
Wow. It's so nice. to
So
see
when we
that.
go back, if we go back to look at the tree, I'm gonna show you guys real quick. When we talk about shrubbing, this is what it looks like. So our tree doesn't just go, this is like the
Mhm.
stem of the tree.
Right.
And then as we go up, each section should look like this. It should have the siblings and then any of their children if possible. But it allows you to see the tree and the branches look like actual branches. Where some people will only do their direct lineage, who they directly come from. I think it's important to make sure you shrub out so that you can be able to find
Yeah.
those extra records.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of what that looks like. All right, so let's see. 1950 census. There they are. 10 years later. He's 17, still unmarried. They live on a different street now. You see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow.
He's never worked because again, he's 17. And there they are. So we know
Wow.
this is the same group, and so we're gonna say yes to that. Now, one thing to note, right? On this census record, he is not listed as Mitchell William, right? He's listed as William.
Right.
If I click on the record to see,
Bye, Monica.
you see that?
Mm.
And there he is. I always like looking at the actual document to confirm that we have the right people,
Right.
right? So they said that, so that's interesting. She was a homemaker. She wasn't working.
Yeah.
So how does she manage?
From what she told me, or from what my mom told me too, she she had a lot of off the book jobs. And also too,
Gotcha.
even though it says my
I
grandfather
understand.
never worked, but he had been working since he was like 12 or 13.
Gotcha.
My grandfather and his mother both had a lot of off the book jobs.
Huh.
So I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
What I find interesting though,
She baked cakes. She ran the streets.
no, I get you. I understand. My grandmother used to run numbers. So
Yeah, I think she did ran numbers, she
I
baked cakes, all that
understand.
type of stuff. Hmm.
So I am not seeing this though.
Oh
March.
yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so that's a son. Let me go back.
And Marsha should be a daughter. Our Marsha was the youngest.
Okay, let me go back to the record and see did he spell it wrong? Yup, sure did. You see that? You see
Hold on,
that?
it hasn't come through yet.
It crossed the two L's out. It
Oh, so
crossed
they must
out
thought they were
son
saying
and put daughter.
Marshall and
You
it
see
says
it?
Marsha. Yep,
Uh-huh. And they
yep.
crossed out son and then wrote daughter at the
And
top.
made it a daughter. Yep. Wow.
That is funny.
Wow.
This
Wow.
is just a good example of what I was talking about. So from here, we're going to save this record because we know this is the same family.
Mm.
Now, you'll note that the information provided clearly matches what we already know, right? So that's how
Right.
we can substantiate this as a correct record because it substantiates what we know that has been substantiated by other records that are primary sources. So the
Yeah.
census, while it is a government record, it's not always as accurate as military, social security, birth and death records because it's subject to the census takers ability to get the correct information. So like, for
Right.
instance, the one you just saw with the sister, it's like, wait a minute, hold up.
Right. That they had initially marked her as a boy named Marshall.
Exactly. And so human error in census taking is something that it's bad. There's so many of them. Because again, too, especially when Black people are getting their census records created by white people, especially in the early 1940s, 1950s, 1960s even. Some of the census takers were racist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh, for
so
sure.
while they may have spelled the names incorrectly, they may have put the wrong dates. A lot of information can get switched up really, really quickly. And so that's that. Oh, what's this? It's marriage records. They got married in 1956. There's Martha.
Oh, I just saw Phyllis's message to everyone. She found the surname Boisseau in one of her match trees.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow, in Virginia. You
And
know
they're
what
in
is
Virginia.
interesting?
They're in
My
Virginia.
the
Huh.
cousin who told us that he found some information saying that we had come from Haiti at some point. He
Uh-huh.
did say that they came to Chicago from the southern East Coast. So I wonder if that is Virginia.
It could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Absolutely.
I was
Well,
going to say, I can provide, she's got a public tree, so I can provide you with her name, the DNA person's name, because she has a public tree. I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay.
Right,
yeah,
Tanya? Yeah.
that
And
is
you
so
can
awesome.
interesting.
What,
Look, go
I just
Phyllis. Go
I just want
Phyllis.
to tell you guys real quickly, the saying is, and Paulette can CC on this if she's still on, I am related to everyone.
We all are.
Everyone. I am not kidding you.
We all
Everyone.
are.
Yeah,
Okay, he lived in Las
yeah, we are.
Vegas.
He did live in Las Vegas at one point. Yeah,
Wow. I love
he
it. I
did
love
live
it
in
when
Las Vegas.
everything matches your family story.
Yeah, he did. Wow, 19 not and it's so funny because he did pass away in 2001, but I bet whoever because he lived in Las Vegas with his girlfriend, so maybe they just didn't register that. And he
Okay,
came
so
back to Chicago around
where you
2000. Yep.
see this section that says 99 to 2012, basically the public index has things broken down by decades. And
Sure.
so it could have been that that particular set of records included everything that was from 1999 to 2012.
To
So
that
if he passed away
decade.
in 2001, his record would still be in this index, if that
Right.
makes sense.
That does make
So
sense.
yeah, so that's how that works.
Wow.
Yep.
Yep. And then Harvey, yep, that's where we lived.
All right.
Wow.
So what I like to do when you get to this section where you have these ancestry member trees, again, we don't trust everything that people have on their trees, but you can review what they have and see if their sources match your sources.
Okay. The funny thing is, I think one of them, so that's mine. I started that one years ago, but I didn't keep up with it. And I think my mom has one. Yep. Michelle Renee Boisseau. That's my mom.
But what you can see is we have 8 sources, and some of these trees have 2 and 3. So
Right.
we can look at where this information came from, right? So
Right.
instead of actually checking this off to have the system pull that information, we want to click on the actual person and look at the sources they have listed. Where if we went, I'll show you exactly what I mean. If I was to go here and then review the selected tree hints, what it was going to do, it's not going to pull over the sources that they have listed here. It's going to save it like this, ancestry family trees. So it won't save the actual source record that we need, right?
Right.
And so in this particular case, these are ones we already have. So we wouldn't necessarily go in and save any of that information. But if I come to her tree and she has something different, yeah, again, still items that we already have found. So
Right.
I find it easier to go into each one and
Sure.
actually look at the sources. Right. And then that way, if it's something that we want to save, if we realize, okay,
Right.
this person has really great information, I can come here to the tool section and choose save to tree. And
Mm.
then what it does is it allows me to find your tree and then find that person in your tree, right?
And match them.
And match
Yeah.
them that way. Exactly.
Yeah.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
The whole person. I got it. Yeah, I see.
Instead of getting the random ancestry family trees as the source, you'll actually get the actual source documents that they had saved. Does
Right.
that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah, I see.
So let's
Okay.
go back. So I'm going to go back to your tree. Hey, I got more stuff. So now we found
Okay.
just a little while, okay?
Mm. And
I'm
what
sorry.
was the name of the program you said that you use?
It's called Legacy.
Okay.
I will I'll send you a copy of it. All right, so let's go back here because I want to see everybody. Hey, we got a record on your dad.
All
Too.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yep. Wow. That is correct.
Nice.
Yep.
He got his whole address.
That is crazy.
But the public record, you know how you can go on Google and find all your information on Google.
Yeah.
This is exactly it.
Wow.
California.
Yep.
Nice.
He's still there now. Yep. El
He's still
Cajon.
there now?
Yep. He went to San Diego because he joined the Navy right out of high school, and he's been in
Gotcha.
the
Wow.
San Diego area ever since.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
Uh,
Huh. El Cajon indeed.
for sure. Let's see what else we got over here. Did I miss one? No, I'm gonna ignore that
No, this one me.
because we
Oh,
already went through each one to see if it had
right.
everything that we needed. So we don't need that anymore. All right. So I'm gonna go on your dad's side and look at this.
See what Grace has given us.
What
Ooh.
Grace is giving us. All right. So again, ancestry member trees. I saved those for last just to see if there's anything else that I missed. All right. So here we have Grace Lacey, and it tells us her date of birth,
Mm-hmm.
tells us her date of death, and who her parents are.
Jency. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So here we go. Bald Knob, Arkansas.
Wow. I wonder when she moved to Chicago. Oh, not her social security number too. My God.
Everything. They're gonna give you everything.
Goodness
If
gracious.
it's on the record, they're gonna give you
My
everything.
goodness.
Yes,
Not her
ma'am.
social.
But they only provide social security numbers and that sort of data on people who are already deceased. So you
Sure.
won't be able to find a social security record for your parents because they're still
Right.
alive. This
And there's
social
a
security applications and claims index does not become available here on Ancestry until a person has been dead for 3 months or more.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. I mean, okay. Good to
Mm-hmm.
know for myself, I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here we go. Same deal. We had 2 records, the index and then, yep. So we're just gonna save this as a substantiation.
Mhm.
Perfect.
And so the index is just a shorter version of the
So
same.
the first record that we looked at will actually give you, and I'm gonna go back to it so you can see. It is the application claims index. This is where they apply
Got it.
for Social Security
Right.
benefit for someone else after the person passed away. And this one is like, okay, this is the recording of the actual death by the Social Security Administration. Does that make sense? So this
Understood.
section is
Yep.
going to have
Got it.
way more information than this one. This one is just
Right.
going to have the name, the Social Security number, and this one and the date of birth. And this one will have all of the information that was listed on the actual application for that person to receive Social Security benefits.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, in all of these documents, like the index, the application, these are what you save, and then you add these documents to your database.
Correct. So I
Mhm.
would come here and anything that I have listed as a source. Now, these two options don't give you the capability of downloading the actual image of the application. But
Sure.
if we went to your grandparents on the other side where we had like census records, you could actually
Yeah.
save those. And once we save one, I'll show you exactly what that looks like.
Okay.
If they have one, that's interesting. Here's the marriage record, April the 11th, 1949.
Oh, wow. So she was young too.
Now, what's interesting here is that her name is Grace Taylor in this
Oh,
one.
yeah. That is very interesting.
And so the question becomes, was she married to someone else previously? So I'm going to say this as a maybe. Because we're
Yeah,
not
I'll have
sure
to
yet
ask
if this
Dad
is
about
her.
that.
So even though it's in the right place around the right time, let's save that as a maybe. And you'll see it shows
Right.
up now in the undecided section. um,
I'll have to ask him about that. Grace
yeah, let's
Taylor.
keep looking though, because sometimes the answers will show up once we actually keep looking. So
Yeah. Mm.
this is her in Chicago. Same date of birth. So we're going to save that record. Justice, Illinois. That sounds like
Mm.
same date of birth. Let's save that too.
Justice, Illinois.
And last one, living in Chicago.
Oh, and living in UP? Interesting.
Huh?
I didn't know that she had spent time in UP. Sorry, in University Park.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I also didn't. I never met her. She passed
Oh,
away before I knew about him.
gotcha. Okay.
But that's interesting. I didn't know they had time spent in UP.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Yep. So we're gonna save that. And let's look at these trees and see what's available that we don't
I'm sure it's
already
gonna be
have.
that same. My mom's tree is on there for sure.
Uh-huh. But same number of sources, same one less record. Same thing here. What I find interesting too is
Mm.
that this person has theirs set on private, the children.
And that's the Grace. Oh, R. Lacey, that's my dad. I didn't know he had a tree. R. Lacey come, so I'll have to ask him about it because that's my dad.
Oh, gotcha.
Interesting.
But what this one shows us is information we didn't have.
Right.
We didn't know he had a brother, Anthony or Alan.
No, we didn't.
We didn't know that. So this is great. We
And
can
then Taryn Lacey.
be able
Interesting.
to save that. So I'm gonna go to their record to see how up. See, this is based off of just again their family history questionnaire, right? It's not
Yep.
based on a source that was found. It was specifically that he, of course, he knows who his brothers are, right? So of
Right.
course he would
And this
know
also
the
had that name Grace Taylor
mm-hmm.
that we saw, but couldn't
Yes,
substantiate.
yes. Interesting. Interesting indeed. And the
Mm,
fact that nobody else has Taylor.
yeah.
I
But I don't know
wonder.
who this, I mean, Taryn Lacey. I'll have to ask my dad who this person is. Taryn Lacey. Mm.
I don't
So what do
know.
you do? Because I also, you know how you talked about I think you said it was your uncle, but there was two different surnames. And I
Yes.
do know that with the Lacey family, sometimes it was spelled with the E and sometimes without. And
Uh-huh.
I think that the without was certainly racism on some parts, but then also, and my dad said this too, they also think that, you know, at some of the earlier stages of the family, where they weren't necessarily reading and writing, they also just may not have known to add the E. So when that happens, because if you notice that person, Taryn Lacey, when I'm looking at it, they have Lacey with the E and Lacey without it, as it says Lacey and Lacey family tree.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
with that, when it's like that, when the last names are misspelled, you just have to keep looking for government records to try to substantiate.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, what I found too is that sometimes you might have one brother who spells it one way and another brother who spells it a
Mm,
completely different way.
right. Sure.
But again, a lot of that stems from previous, not necessarily in the mid 1900s, but prior to 1920, it was your name was whatever the person wrote on the thing.
Yeah. Also
You
true,
didn't
right?
you didn't get to correct them.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it basically allows us, we got to make sure that we are, so I'm going to ignore these real quick. All right.
Mm.
And then I'm going to go back to see what else we have. All right. So what I want to be, huh, interesting. So Evelyn has suggestions and it shows us her suggested parents, right?
Yep.
Well, let's look at that.
I do know Waller Wallace is her dad. Wow.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Yep. And Alice Morgan. Yep.
And
Alice.
there they
Mhm.
are, marriage,
That's
birth,
her mom.
and that this is a birth certificate.
Yep. June 25th, 1918. Mm-hmm.
And see, I didn't have that information. That information wasn't available to me from the previous one that we had, right?
Yeah. So this populated since,
Yep.
oh,
So again, takes us to a whole nother place and gives us her middle name and her date of birth
yep. Wow.
and got us to the next generation.
They did. Mm-hmm. I actually did learn a few years ago. I knew, so I knew she was born in Chicago, and I was
Mhm.
I was actually really surprised by that because I had just grown up assuming that everybody had moved to Chicago in the 1940s and 50s.
Mhm.
Um, and certainly it was that case on my maternal grandmother's side. So to find out that she had been born here in 1918 was a big shock for me too. But I also knew that her mom was born here. In Chicago really early. But a couple years ago, I found out that her grandparents, who were born slaves, they moved to Chicago
Oh wow.
in the 1870s. And I was stunned to learn we had been here that long. Completely shocked.
Good thing to learn. So let me see.
I know, very
This one
cool.
says Evertine Wallace and has the same two parents' names. So what I'm going to do is look at the actual census record because
Yeah.
sometimes it's spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Alice Evertine. Yeah, that's surprising. But did you see this one?
No, I haven't
It
seen this.
says Robert Morgan, father. You see that?
Oh.
Interesting.
Oh, but maybe that's Alice's because he's 72.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, so that's Alice's father.
Yeah,
And they have Walter Wallace, but it's Waller. So yeah, they were just writing whatever on this piece of paper.
yeah. So this is a
1920,
prime
they didn't
example of
care.
what I was talking about.
Yep, they
Is
did
that
not care.
they did not care one way or the other whose name spelled wrong.
So he's on there as Walter Wallace.
Walter Wallace, and she's as Everteen.
Everteen. From Evelyn.
Yes, exactly.
Dang.
That's
Wow,
crazy.
that is
But
crazy.
this
And
is
like
a
you
great
said,
example of what I was talking about, though.
could nobody even
Interesting that he
correct
was
it.
born in Kentucky.
Robert Morgan. Wow. Wow.
And it says she was born in Indiana.
She wasn't though.
That's what it says. So maybe this may not be them.
That's weird though.
I'm gonna save it as a
As a
a
maybe.
maybe.
Because a lot of it looks right, but I know she was born in Chicago. They
Gotcha.
also probably wrote down because the husband was born in Indiana.
Mm-hmm. What I also
Evelyn Dawson. Oh, she did get remarried. I always forget that she got
huh?
remarried. I was looking at where it says Evelyn Dawson, and for a second I was confused, but I forgot that she remarried at one point.
Gotcha. So she was married to someone else.
Yeah.
Huh, huh, huh. All right. I'm gonna save that as an alternate.
Yeah.
So that way any records that had that name on it,
We'll be able
now
to
when we
pull
go to
them.
search for items related to her,
Mhm.
that name will be listed as an alternate and it'll pull up records associated with that name as well.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna
That
click
makes
on
sense.
next.
Oh, wait a second.
Huh?
Yeah, but I see. Marriage was July 12th. I see. But to William Boyce, maybe
Yeah,
they got remarried. I don't know.
1944.
Because that would have been well past when they got married the first time.
Huh.
We know people were maybe they got remarried.
Yeah. All right. This is her birth record.
Wow.
Yep, and that definitely matches.
Yep, that's her. Mm-hmm.
All right. And like what? Wait a minute, what? I don't think this is the same person. I think this person is the same person as the one we maybe.
But she has a brother named Frank.
She does?
Mm-hmm.
Get
Uncle
out.
Frank.
Let's take
I
a
never met Uncle Frank, but I know that she had a brother named Uncle Frank. I mean,
Evelyn
Frank.
Wallace.
Interesting.
Yeah, they probably misspelled it. I'm gonna go back to the actual.
Oh, yeah, and Julia. Yeah, her sister's name was Julia. So that's got to be them. Poor Waller. They was putting his name
They would call him Walter all over again.
all over
Now,
the
what's
place.
interesting about this though is if this was a T, they didn't pull it all the way across. They can't
Oh,
spell to save their lives. Look at that.
yeah, it's messy. And that's maybe look at what they did with the mom's name.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know
Like,
what that's
what in
supposed to be.
the world? Like, what does that
Wow.
say?
Wow. Yeah, this is sloppy.
Just sloppy. I wouldn't have accepted this from this person if I was the
Yeah,
person in
this is
charge of the
very
census.
sloppy.
I would have made them rewrite this whole thing over.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But you see, they put, okay, I'm looking at the birthplace. They now have her in Illinois. So this was
Yeah,
1930. So
this
that
is the right
1920
one.
person put her back in Illinois. They didn't care.
Small world, girl. Yep.
Wow.
Parents and siblings.
Yeah, I know that Frank and Julia were her siblings. So this definitely seems like it's her because those are for sure her siblings.
Alex, Frank, and Julia.
Yep.
I say that. Huh. Let's see what. Yeah, we still got 7 sources. Hmm. Now, she does have some additional information here. Nope, same deal right there. Okay.
Maurice, Alice, yeah, same kids.
Nothing new. Nothing new.
Same kids.
All right, so we're gonna go out of this.
Okay,
We're going to ignore because it's not gonna give us nothing new.
right.
And then let's go back and look at your tree and see how we looking now. Hey, look,
Wow.
right. We're second great grandparents now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Nice.
That's beautiful. Oh,
So this is an example of what I was talking about when it comes to shrubbing. So your great grandparents, their siblings now have suggestions of information, right?
right,
When I come
right.
here to look for Frank, it's going to give me information about Frank, but it's also might give me additional information about Alice or Julia, right?
Yeah.
So we can go in and be able to see. So Frank was 17 here. Chicago.
Wow.
He's
52,
a new worker.
57.
He just got a job. Bless his heart.
Oh, wow. Okay. Look at him, 2 years of high school. Forgot to.
Oh, wow. So this is interesting.
Oh, goodness.
Interesting, right? So
Oh,
it's got your second great grandparents, right? Right. So let's look at this actual census record so we can see the relationships and how people are connected to each other. So here we are.
yeah.
They keep calling him Walter.
Poor Waller.
Poor Waller.
Yeah.
Poor Waller.
Wow.
All right. But you see him and his wife, their son Frank. They had a son, Chancey.
Nancy. Yeah.
And look at that. There's Julia, but she's not a Wallace anymore. Julia is now
Oh,
a Young,
wow. She's a
married to
young.
Charles. So you
Wow,
see
look at
how this
that.
gives us so much more information than just searching for our direct lineage. Does that make sense?
Wow. So now a son-in-law, his
Exactly.
daughter.
And then you have the
Wow.
grandchildren
The
here, Loretta and
grandchildren. Wow.
Sylvia,
And a lodger.
and a lodger.
They did have I knew they had a boarding house.
Very cool.
Yeah. Wow.
So we definitely want to say yes to that.
Okay. Very cool.
Now, what's interesting is this is not going to pull in all the information that we needed to pull in, right? It's only going to give us information about Walter, Alice, Julia, and Chauncey.
Okay.
It's not going to show us the grandchildren. And don't get me the line as to why Ancestry doesn't do that, but it won't keep track of the grandchildren.
Got it. I would
you
have to
see,
manually.
it didn't even pull in the husband for Julia.
Oh, because that's someone, because they would consider them not a part of my family tree.
Correct.
Got
But
it.
as we go forward,
Excuse me.
I can go to Julia's and be able to pull in her marriage information from there. So we're going to go through her and then we'll step to Julia and then see what records come up for her. So this is interesting too. The name Frank Mann Wallace.
That is interesting. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm sure you can guess. Man was like a nickname. I can't believe they wrote that on the census.
Why is that on the census?
I can't believe they wrote man on the census.
They wrote man on the census.
What was that about?
You know that it was Frank. Man Wallace. I'm interested to see what they actually wrote once this saves. I go back through. Unfortunately, we may have had a problem saving records from 1940 census.
Oh.
I'm going to save this again. Okay, next. Yeah. That is so funny.
That's
But it's a
hilarious.
prime
Oh, duck.
example of what I was talking about in terms of the census people just writing whatever they wanted to, whatever they wanted to write. Hmm.
Yeah, family. Okay, I see. Kimberly Davis is saying duck is on. Yeah, it's like, why would they write this stuff down? I mean, it's funny for us now, but that is hilarious to write that
Yeah,
on the
but that's
census.
what I'm saying. Like, why would you write that on?
Like it's his middle name.
Man, that is so funny.
Uh,
What I find
that must be yeah.
interesting is it is not written on here. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Wow. Interesting.
What
Now
I
who are all these
also
other
find
oh,
interesting is that Julia is now married to someone else.
I was about to say, who is this Gaffney person?
She's married to
Oh, but
someone
she still
else,
has her
but
son,
she
Ronald
still has her
Young.
son. Yeah.
Wow. And then another son named Fred Gaffney.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Girl. And a son named Eric and her brother.
Wow. And he was
And
living with,
he is a truck driver for the Herald American newspaper, working 32 hours a week.
oof. Wow.
Hmm. What I also find interesting is Frank is the only person with a job. So Frank was holding everybody down.
Holding everybody down, even though he didn't even get to be the head of the household
He was holding everybody down. Go ahead, Frank. I ain't mad at you, man.
at all from his in his little sister house.
So this
Oh,
is
he's a
where
truck
I
driver.
would come in, I would right click, save image as, and then I'll have an actual place of this being saved, right? I'll save it
Sure.
on my computer, or I can print it out. And
Mhm.
sometimes printing out the census record is helpful, especially on Ancestry when they will not allow you to save this ancillary information, if that makes sense.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't understand where they got man from because it is not
It's
on
not
that
on here. Yeah,
record.
wow. It's not on there.
It's just not on there. So crazy. All right, so I'm gonna save that. I would save it as an alternate because
Because
who
it's yeah,
knows?
it's a cute little anecdote anyway. Interesting.
Yep.
Wow.
All right.
I gotta ask
So,
my mom about Aunt Julia and her second husband.
hmm, huh,
Mm,
interesting. All right, so I'm gonna
yeah.
go back to your tree. Take a look at what else Ancestry has fished up for us. Lots of stuff, right?
I was gonna say
So,
the Wallaces are recorded, okay?
yeah. Now, what's
I
interesting
mean, not the
though,
Wallaces, the Morgans. The Morgans got some
I need
records.
to fix this because they're not alive. So
Oh, right.
they're looking,
Definitely
so
not.
basically,
Definitely.
Ancestry indexes things based off of what we put into the fields, right? So if they were looking for someone who was still alive, it wouldn't have
Oh,
a
I
death date.
see.
You get me?
Right.
So
Right.
we got that. Okay.
Mitchell Boy So is also definitely deceased.
So here, while we may,
Evelyn.
uh-huh, while we might see, let me go back.
Wow.
I'll show you exactly what I mean though.
I see what
Like
you mean. Okay.
now
So
those
they'll be
two
looking
things
for a
pop up,
living
right?
Grace Harden. Right. I
Exactly.
see.
Yep.
Yep, because now they got let leaves.
Mm-hmm. But if we wanted to search for this person, you don't have to wait for the leaves. The leaves are just, Ancestry doing work for you, but you don't have to just sit around and wait for the leaves to show up. You can search for
Mm,
that person and you can find them in all these things. So on the left-hand side, you'll see all of the different records that
Mm.
are available, right?
Wow.
So you can filter we're focusing on African American, right? But we can focus on all collections if we wanted to.
Oh,
So
I
African
see.
American is going to dial us into just records that we know are African American records.
Right.
And I like to leave that when I'm working on a tree that's not for a white person or that doesn't have white people in it. I like to keep my focus on African American because what happens is they will eliminate all of the records that are not matching that. So all of the white
Right.
people named Jency would not be included. Does that make sense?
Right. We don't need to focus on her on the white gensies.
Yep. So that's how that works. And if you want to look in a specific set of data, if you want to find out her birth record, you can click on that one and then it'll show you only birth records. If you want to see marriage and divorce, it'll show you only marriage and divorce. So depending on what your research goals are, right? When we set out, we say, this is the information I'm hoping to find,
Sure.
right? And you set up your search to find just the things that you might get additional resources shown to you, right? But it just gives you the opportunity to be able to say, okay, today I'm only working on my,
Right.
or soul line, right? I'm only
Okay.
working on that section. Like here, he's not alive, so I need to make that deceased. I don't know how I missed that when we first did it. Same thing here.
So this pretty much defaults everybody to a
Right. So when you first
living
put people
person.
in, it automatically defaults them to being living. And sometimes people, okay, you're not liking me today? Sometimes people will leave some people listed as living so that other people can't steal the information before it's been verified. But I don't put anything on my tree that does not have substantiation. So if I don't know it to be true by having firsthand knowledge of that information, so like your grandparents are not living, right?
Right.
You know that information. So when we're looking for people who we may not know, like we didn't know Chancey existed, right?
Right. And the funny thing is, I feel like I think he died young, maybe.
Maybe.
The name sounded familiar, but he
Let's look
wasn't
at him
someone
and
that my
see.
mom grew up with. But
There
the
it
name
is.
is
You
not
said it.
foreign to her.
Yeah, you said it.
Oh, yep. There you go. Because she grew up with her Uncle Frank and Aunt Julia, but the name, I've heard the name Chauncey, but that's not someone that she knew personally. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He died early. Wow, he died so young. Wow.
Very interesting.
Yeah, poor thing.
What I'm interested in to know, this is just the index, so it may not tell us how he died. It doesn't.
Okay.
But he was a student.
Oh, wow.
He was 15 years old.
Young.
Very
young. Wow. He had just turned 15 too, if he died in August.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Father's name Walter. They just couldn't let that tea go.
That is too funny.
They could not let that tea go.
All right, so I'm gonna save that. Poor thing. I wonder what happened.
I do too. I'm gonna ask my mom if she knows.
Okay, so the alternate spelling of his name. I'll just save it out. Did anybody else have any questions? I don't even see who's on here now. I shouldn't have hit that thing.
No, I'm following it fine. Yeah,
Huh?
sounds great. You're a good teacher. Good teacher.
Yeah, just
Oh,
Um,
like navigating through the
I'm just
yeah.
website.
taking it all in.
Well,
Yeah.
there's two things I might want to comment on.
uh-huh.
You didn't know how he died. I don't know which person it was. I don't remember. You can do a newspaper search and see if it was something, that
Yeah.
was published,
Oh, look for his
or
name in the paper.
yeah, or do the death index, and if you find something, I know I had to order a death record in Chicago. I don't know if they're
Hmm.
online yet or not, but they have a link. They have a link at the state where it archives, and you can order death certificates for people.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you how they died.
Well, the death certificate would have, if they
Yeah, it
have
will
one, the
have
death
the
certificate
it'll
would have
have
something.
the cause of
Yeah,
death on the death certificate.
right.
Wow. Oh, look at this.
And
Find the grave.
yeah,
So find a grave is very helpful in finding where people are buried. Oh no, this is
Yeah.
the wrong. Did I
hmm
put? No, I did.
Oh yeah, it's very good.
So I'm just gonna search for him and see if he comes up. Nope,
Yeah.
but that's okay. He
Yeah.
may
It
come
might
up
be, I
another
don't
time.
know. I think that Chauncey with a U. I think
Is
it's the other
wrong.
spelling. Yeah, I think the one that the CHANCY,
Mm-hmm.
the one that looks incorrect. I mean, I guess we'll
Yeah,
find out.
I'm with you. Let's see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Find a grave. Okay, I'm marking that one too.
Oh yeah.
Can I ask the person
Uh-huh.
who was just speaking? I couldn't see what your name
Sure.
was, but
There
when you
was,
ordered the
Phyllis.
death certificate, did you
yeah.
did you add it to ancestry.com or did you just add it to your personal records? I'm just
Uh,
curious.
I added to my personal because it's my great grandfather. I don't know if I put it. I probably did put it on there since he was, he had passed in 1926. I think I uploaded it as a source.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
took it and uploaded it as a source.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
very cool. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll have to look into that, getting some death records ordered.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just do a Google. I think just do death records, Chicago. It's a state office. Go to the state
Mm.
index,
Mm.
and you can
Okay,
get it from the
sure.
state. Yeah. And they have the
Okay.
indexes, but I think, if my memory serves me right, I have to go back. I don't know if I had to be related because they're not, I couldn't find them online. I don't know if I had to be related. I may have to have sent them something showing that I was late, but then just check and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
You're right. You were right about that.
That name.
Yep,
Hmm.
you were absolutely right. It's the other one.
It's the quote on like what would be the incorrect spelling.
Right.
Somebody
What's his
probably
name?
tried to correct it to Chauncey with the U, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
they were very straightforward about that spelling.
All right, you guys. What I'm gonna do, I am going to continue to work on your tree. I'm gonna actually send you. Let me see. Go to you real quick. And edit. No, I don't remember where to go. Hmm,
So
interesting.
that you could send it to me.
Yep.
Mm.
So that way. There you are.
You know what? I'm gonna have you do. Oh, ooh. I'm gonna have you do my mom's account because I did one like so long ago, but she did
Uh-huh.
hers more recently and she's done more work on it. But
Okay.
what is the
Well,
email? It
shoot
might be
me.
mine.
Can you shoot me her email address?
That's what I was about to say. Let me see. Can you do it by display name?
Oh yeah.
Because I saw her name pop up a couple times.
Uh-huh.
Um, Okay, so it's the Michelle Renee. I saw her name, her tree when you would look at the sources or whatever that was.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Oh, no, Michelle, and then it's the Renee RHNEA. That's it.
There we go. Okay,
Yeah. Because hers is more populated, so I'd rather connect those.
gotcha. Okay, no problem.
Okay. And now, and then I'll take over and like how you were showing how you search and how you substantiate.
Yeah.
Guess what I
So,
found?
say it again.
What
Guess what I found?
What did you
I'm
What
doing,
find?
I do research in the background. I'm always doing this while you guys are talking. I found a death notice certificate. I mean, death, not a certificate, a death, index for Chauncey C.
For-
Wallace.
For
For who?
Chauncey?
Yeah. I went into, Latanya,
Uh-huh.
I went into the, I did a search and I went into the death, the search, and then I went to death records and I put his
Uh-huh.
name in. Yeah, that's how I found it. Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
it. That's the
This the
same
one.
one.
On Ancestry?
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought yeah, that's it,
This
Wow.
the one.
right there.
Yeah.
So you can,
Wow, he was a student. I gotta figure out what happened to him. A 15-year-old student,
Yeah, I know, right?
1941.
Anything could have happened. That's
And
crazy.
it could have been anything. It
yeah,
just could have been anything. It
All
could have
right.
been absolutely anything.
Well, my little people are telling me
you.
my time is up.
Okay.
Okay.
So we will be back next week, and I'll show you what I've found. So I'll work on your tree until we get back on Thursday, and then we can kind of review and then work on the next person's tree.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm gonna find a outside program to work with too
Okay.
and
I
see
can
about
send
creating my
you.
own record off of Ancestry, like you
I'll
suggested.
email you. I'll email you a link so that you can get the legacy program. It's the base version of the program is free.
Uh-huh.
I have the paid version, and the only real difference is, in my opinion, is the ability to save information on familysearch.org. If that's
Oh,
something that's important to you, you can use the base program without any issue.
okay.
What the paid version, it gives you additional things for reports and like printing out family trees and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll send you a link. I have your email. I'll send you a link to where you can download it.
Okay, I'll look for that. Okay.
Awesome.
Tanya,
All right,
this
you
is
guys,
Phyllis.
you got any questions for me before we get off of here?
I have one. This is Phyllis.
Yeah.
Not a question. I know that you wanted me to go on so we can work on my tree. I decided not to make your life miserable. I've got to do some things. I'm going to put mine on Legacy. I'm going to upload the ones that I know on Legacy, so I'll have it where we don't have to, when I get to you, I don't have to play around with everything, what I don't know. But I
Right,
do,
so
I do know.
Do you want to get put on the list for Thursday?
Yeah,
And
and
then
for
when we do
Thursday,
your
yes,
tree
because
next
I'll
weekend.
have what I have, and let's see
Uh-huh.
if we can find it. Because see, what I'm stuck on, believe it or not, guys, I've been doing this for 30 years. I even have a certificate up here, DNA Academy. I cannot find determine who my great grandmother is, my grandmother.
Okay.
So I'm stuck. I'm all the way, like Latanya knows, all the way back at the plantation. Can't even find that middle person. Once I get past that, I can move, I can connect everything.
Phyllis,
Yeah.
that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
We're going to do on next week, we're going to work on your tree.
Okay.
And what I want you to do for me though, can you go on the website and click on the link to be featured and just fill in your information and your email address and all that kind of stuff?
Okay.
So I know how to get in contact with you outside of this, and I'll give you a call and we can kind of game plan for Thursday.
Okay, because
All
if I
right.
get past that, yeah, because I need somebody else to look at it except me. Once I get past there, guys, I'm all the way back to the plantation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
there, so
Wow.
hopefully.
That's
'Cause,
amazing.
well, I've got a name, Amanda Newman. Keep that name in mind. I
Hey,
cannot,
wait a minute.
yeah,
Wait a minute.
what?
Amanda Newman?
Amanda
Uh-oh.
Newman.
Uh-oh.
But there's two. There's one from Virginia, and her, yeah. There's pull up who you have, Amanda.
Oh, no. She might be a child of somebody else, but okay,
Yeah.
we can definitely look at it though.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely.
I see all those Newmans, and I'm like I said, I'm related
There
to the
we are,
Newmans.
all
So,
those Newmans.
yeah, all those Newmans. They're all over the
Wow.
place. Yep.
So
You got them all.
this is the master tree for Nominee Hall Save Legacy Project. And
Yes.
as you can see, it is all scrubbed
Oh.
out, right?
And we can talk offline
Wow.
too, Latanya, but what I know that I go back to the two people I do know at Nami Hall, where everybody else, we all go back to that same person, Nellie Burke and her husband.
Yes.
Mm.
So that's how I
Wow,
know.
they had a lot of slaves on their plantation. My God.
Oh, yeah.
This is my great grandmother.
Wow.
Blanche Newman. Okay, awesome.
Oh, you have a
awesome.
Martha Ella.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they got
Martha Ella
a
Newman.
Richard Etta.
Do you have, and he wouldn't be on the plantation, but what about Cave Newman? C-A-V-E, Cave.
Mm-hmm.
But
He's
it's so
from,
funny. So who is Martha Ellen in your Martha Ella Newman? Because my grandmother's Martha Ella. I'm just wondering who your
a
Martha Ella.
Newman?
Yeah, see right
Um,
here next to between
Martha
Fur.
Ella.
Oh,
I just noticed the name, and it's the same name as my
She would
grandmother.
have been hold on. Let's go to her and see.
True. Click on it.
She's
Yeah,
my
that's
second
so
great grand aunt.
wow. And she got the same first middle name as my
Mhm.
granny.
Yep.
Martha
She-
Ella. Interesting.
let me see if she's on mine.
Wow. Born in
There's
8.
so much work to be done on this tree.
Oh,
in my
mine.
fantasies of life, I train everybody on how to do this work, and then y'all come help me work on this tree.
Right. Wow.
Oh, I will.
Because this
Because
is
like I
just
said,
one branch, right? This is just
Yeah.
one
I've got-
lineage on
yeah,
that.
I've got a
that
lot of
tree.
information. So I'll help you. I've got a
So
lot of
much.
information. And I can find stuff. I don't have a problem finding stuff.
Mhm.
I find stuff quick, but I
So
just
these
need
are my Newman ancestors that were on a deed of gift. Chris
Wow.
Newman, John Newman, and then John Newman Jr., my fourth great grandfather.
Wow.
So from here, John Newman's son, his son, if I can get to it. All right.
William Morris Newman.
Yep, it's so many of so
He was
many.
born in
Wow.
1765.
Mhm.
Oh
So
my,
it's funny. I went down to Westmoreland County. This was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I went to visit the graveyard where my third great grandparents are buried. And I had met a pastor in Philadelphia when I went for an event, and he was telling me that he was going to be going to a church in Westmoreland County. So when I went down there, I went to visit, I saw him, and he was telling me the history of his church. And he pulls out this document of the founding of their church. These two people, Sidnor Newman and Emily Newman, deeded the church 40 acres of land.
wow.
Oh.
They were descendants of the manumission, and they had worked and gained and bought land and all kinds of stuff, and they gave the church 40 acres of land to build a new church. And so I
Wow.
was able to visit their grave site. It was a lovely, lovely, lovely time.
Wow.
Do you have the Lewises mixed in with the Newmans by chance?
Huh?
Lewis, the Lewis surname, Lewis. mixed in with the
I'm
Newmans?
not sure. Let me see.
Because they're in Maryland.
Um,
Amanda Lewis. Yes, yes.
mhm,
Amanda, right here.
yep.
I'm related to some people that,
Now, you notice that Amanda Lewis is, that's why I couldn't find her. You asked me for Amanda Newman, didn't you?
yeah.
I couldn't find her because she's in here under her maiden name.
Well, I wonder if that's her. Now, when was she born? No, mine was born earlier.
1866,
No, the one I had was born earlier, like in
earlier than that.
1830 something, yeah.
But isn't that a
Oh.
coincidence, though?
Yeah. And I think I got them on they're in my Newmans. Yeah. There's three people I'm related to, and I go online with them all the time. And we go back to the Culpeper, Virginia. There's a church and a graveyard there. So
Okay.
those guys, I'll try to bring them in online. They're related to me, and they're right there in Maryland, I think. One's a
Mhm.
priest. Isaac Poole. That's his name, Isaac Poole. I think he's a priest. I think they're in Maryland or Washington, D.C. Okay, I'll get it all together.
Yep, awesome. That's the
Wow.
plan, everybody. I'll see you guys next week.
Okay.
If
Thank
you have any
you.
questions between
Thank
now and
you.
then, you can catch me on Facebook or you can catch me on Twitter. Either way, shoot me a message and I'll get back to you. Phyllis, make sure you go
Yep.
on the website and fill that out though, because
I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to do it
and then
probably
that way I
tomorrow.
can call you during the week
Yeah.
and we can figure out our game plan for Thursday.
Yeah, I'll do it either later this evening or tomorrow. Start on it.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you
And
guys
Night,
so
everyone.
much for
Thank you
rocking
so
with me.
much.
I
Oh.
appreciate you so much. Y'all don't know.
You're awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. That was really, really helpful and very informative. And thank
Well,
you,
I'm so
Phyllis, and
glad.
everybody else.
Oh, I just like to be a
Helping.
background person while she's
Huh?
doing her stuff. I feel that I do research. That keeps me alive, getting that background
Well, I'm
stuff.
gonna put you to work. Don't tell me that. Don't
Oh,
tell
no,
me that.
I
I'll
do that
find
while
some
you're,
work for you to do.
while you're on, if you have something, just tell me to go to it. Because I'm on
Okay.
another computer while you're moving on, and then I'll see what I
Got
can
you.
find. Oh, I don't have a problem with
Let's
that.
game plan for Thursday.
Okay.
And I'll shoot you a link to what I have, and then we can work from there.
Okay, will
Awesome.
do. All
Thank you
righty.
guys
Bye,
so much.
everybody.
guys.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Good night.